A long time ago, I worked as a trucker, and I was on a meet and turn shift. Basically, that's when the truck driver will take the load to a halfway point where he'll meet another driver that will take the load the rest of the way, all the way to the destination, so everyone gets home faster. Well, after doing a half dozen of these meet and turn runs, I made a habit of getting to the meeting point an hour early. Didn't want to miss the other guy or make anyone wait. On this occasion, we decided to meet in an empty lot, and we were going to meet at 4 a.m. So I was there at 3 a.m. It was dark. It was a cloudy night, no moon, not a single light in this lot. So not much to do back then, no cell phones or any of that, so I just decided to take a nap. Closed my eyes, and I'm falling asleep when I hear some barking. There's a dog barking. I'm so tired and I'm hoping it'll just shut up, but it keeps going and going. Now I'm thinking maybe this dog's trying to tell me something. He's barking like crazy right outside my truck, and I'm lying back. I can't see anything outside of the truck. I'm just trying to get back to sleep, but it will not stop barking. So now I'm pretty awake, and I start raising my seat from the recline position to take a look at what's going on outside. And as I look out the window, I see it. What I saw left me frozen. Years later, I cannot get this image out of my head. The barking was not coming from a dog. Standing a few feet from my truck door was a large man, eyes directly on me, barking and growling at me like a rabid dog. His eyes were wide and bloodshot. I think he might have even been foaming at the mouth a little. He looked like a man, but he was acting like a dog. A crazy dog. It's like 3:30 a.m. Where did this guy come from? We're in the middle of nowhere. I immediately made sure my doors were locked. I keep my eyes on this guy. I discreetly reach down and start my truck, and I start to drive away. But in my mirrors, I could see this guy barking and chasing down the side of my truck like a feral dog. Like when your car gets chased by an angry dog, that's what he was doing. I missed my meetup that day. I lost that job. And that was the last time I ever did a meet and turn shift. That was also the last nap I ever took. Can't take a nap after that.
My brother told me this story once, years after it happened. This is probably early 90s. He did a lot of midnight runs then. Trucker, yeah. It's a tough job. So one night, he's on a long haul, and he pulls in for the night at a truck stop, and it's strangely empty, except for a few lights inside the complex, but it is not usual. These places are usually 24 hours. But he was really not doing well. Starting to doze off. He was so tired he decided to stay there. And he's asleep in the back. And he's awoken by this loud banging on the passenger side door. It's probably like 2 or 3 in the morning. He's thinking it's someone on drugs or something. So he grabs his bat and looks out the passenger side door. There's no one. No one there. He's spooked, but he's also tired, so he goes back to sleep. 20 minutes later, the driver's side door is being banged loudly, like someone's pounding on it with their fist, trying to get in or trying to get his attention. Who knows? He jumps out of bed and bolts to the door. He's at the window and he looks down. No one. There's no one there. He thinks about leaving, and this is what I asked him. I was like, why don't you leave at this point? He said he thought about it, but the next stop was too far, and he had a deadline in the morning. So he just hops in back again, tries to fall asleep, and eventually does. Side note, my brother's an idiot. Anyway, he actually got a pretty good night's sleep until he was awoken in the morning again by banging on the driver's side door. It was a lighter banging this time. It was more like a knock. He gets his bat, he gets to the door and looks out the window. It's a highway patrolman. Police officers. Actually, there's multiple police officers. There's a couple vehicles, patrol cars. The officer's screaming at him to exit the vehicle. As he steps out, he realizes the strangest thing. He is not where he parked last night. The truck is in an entirely different location. He was now parked on the side of the highway. In fact, illegally parked on the shoulder of a highway bridge over a waterway, probably 30 minutes down the road from where he parked the night before. His truck was partially blocking a lane of the bridge, hence why the officers were there. He had no idea how the truck got there. He had no idea how he got there. The officer kept asking where the other guy was, and my brother was totally confused. What are they talking about? Another guy? What other guy? The officer said as they approached, someone, some guy or something, hopped out of the truck and jumped off the bridge into the water. This all had to happen while my brother was sleeping because he didn't wake up until the officers knocked on the door. But he swears it was impossible. He had the doors locked the entire night because of the banging he was hearing. The truck had been locked from the inside. There was no way someone could have gotten into the truck, moved the truck while my brother was sleeping to a different location. It just didn't make any sense. It was impossible. Unless my brother is a liar or delusional, doing drugs or mentally ill. But I know my brother, he's none of those things. Something weird happened that day. He never figured it out. I feel really bad for my brother. I'm sure he thinks about it every time he's falling asleep. If he'll wake up somewhere else.
Yeah, I used to drive trucks. You don't believe me? Okay. Then you're definitely not gonna believe this. There was a night on the road. I just left Missoula, probably 11 p.m. I just had a late dinner, recharged, some coffee, some chicken fingers. And I was back on the road. I really preferred driving at night to avoid the crowds. Traffic will wear on you. That's a life lesson. Not just for truckers. Unfortunately, the weather that night was not cooperating. After an hour, I hit a bad thunderstorm. It was getting messy on the roads, flooded sections, low visibility. It was dangerous out there. So, I did the safe thing and I decided to pull off and just wait out the weather at the first service plaza I saw. Sat in my truck, watching the rain, the wind. It was around midnight. It was actually quite peaceful. But that didn't last long. Suddenly, there were 4 lightning strikes in a row. Very close. My ears were ringing from the thunder. It's like 4 bombs went off. And just like that, the entire plaza went completely dark. Power outage. Anything that was electric was not working. Even the dome light in my truck, that went off too. Headlights weren't working. Pitch black. It was very strange and I could not explain why nothing electric was working. So now I'm sitting in my truck watching this crazy storm through the darkness. When suddenly, one section of the cloud starts glowing by the tree line. It's got this blue, bright tint. At first I thought it might be a plane coming in, but I didn't hear any noise. The way it moved was not like a plane either. Not a straight line. Took maybe 5 minutes for it to move from the tree line to the plaza, where it was hovering right over me. This thing lit up the clouds wherever it moved, and as it went right over the plaza, everything was lit up with this blue hue. Really strange blue hue. Then it moved toward the hills, and eventually, out of sight. I swear, several seconds after it left my sight and went over the horizon, every light came back on in the plaza. Everything. It was like what you see in the movies, but it was real. That thing was not of this world.